Platoon is a 1986 war film. It's written and directed by Oliver Stone.
It's starring Tom Berenger, Willem Dafoe, Charlie Sheen, and Forrest Whitaker.
With a budget of only $6 million, this had a box office take of $138.5 million.
With a tomato meter rating of 88% with an audience score of 93%.
The film, whose events are loosely based on Stone's own experience in the Vietnam War, follows Private Taylor while serving in Vietnam. And the film is what I would call an understated film. It's mostly about the conduct and overall morality of war. So it's kind of hard to give it just a plot synopsis. Now, this movie, I realized watching this, the problem that I have watching some older movies. I definitely struggled with some of the enjoyment of this. Now, not to say that this isn't a great movie. This movie is amazing, but it does show its age. And I do think it shows the smaller budget. The fact that this was only, $6 million, which I guess in 1986 is quite a bit more. However, at least for me, I've noticed with older movies like this, I think what ends up happening is my immersion tends to break a little bit. And that's the part that kind of draws me out of it. But with that being said, this movie is still amazing, still great, still explores a lot of important ideas that are incredibly important to think about. So, if I have to give this a verdict, yes or no, should you watch it? I enjoyed watching this. I feel like it's important to watch this because I'm someone that is trying to learn and appreciate film more, especially as someone who is a co-host on a podcast that explores film. So I think that I need to watch this. The general population, though, I would give this a yes. However, there are many movies that explore the same concepts. I think that it is important to think about these things, not necessarily see exactly especially in this movie precisely, but still, yeah, I'm going to give it a yes. How do you feel?
Starting off, I am ashamed at the fact that I not only am someone that likes movies, I grew up watching movies. It was part of like my routine every couple weeks. We'd go rent movies when I was a little kid. I worked at Blockbuster when that was a thing. I'm now the co-host on a podcast that talks about movies, and I've never seen this movie. I'm ashamed of that fact, honestly. And I'm really sad that I waited this long, because this movie, I'm not going to say I enjoyed every minute of watching it, but I think that this is something important for people to kind of see. And part of the reason why I said what I said in the intro was partially because I just say off-color shit every time, but also a lot of the hate that people got when they came back from this war, and the things that some individuals chose to do, and a lot of the anti-war people, instead of blaming the people who sent the people off to war, who decided this was a necessary military campaign, they blamed the people that were in it. And for me, I think this is an important movie to watch as an American, because you can understand in some ways that the people overseas in Vietnam thought they shouldn't be there just as much as the people did here. And you can see some of the more atrocious side of war. You can kind of see how miserable Vietnam really was for the people there. And for younger people like us that, weren't even alive anywhere near when Vietnam happened, I think it's a great movie to get a little perspective on what happened there, at least a little bit, and maybe even to push you to learn a little more about the war and what happened. By the way, great documentary series on Netflix about the Vietnam War. Can't remember the name of it, but watch that if you haven't. So for this one, I think it's a yes, particularly if you're American, because this is something that it's a perspective and an experience that if you haven't had, it's good to have some kind of idea of what things felt like. I mean, there's nothing like really being there, but I think it's a good mix of weird shit that was going on. And they seem to make a point to kind of touch every relevant experiential point.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You ready to start getting into the actual the meat of this story? You want Spoiler Terry to pop out?
I want to see Spoiler Terry.
All right.
He's my dude.
All right, we'll bring Spoiler Terry out of here.